purpose for live stream, we'll have to do it right there. Let me
You are good to go.
I want to welcome everyone to the December meeting of the Randolph County Board of Education. At this time, I will turn the meeting over to Superior Court Judge Jimmy Hill, who will handle the swearing-in ceremonies. And I think this is, I don't know, the third or fourth time, but we really appreciate you taking the time out to come and do this. And I understand you travel all over Randolph County doing this, and we certainly appreciate. It's a privilege to have you swear me in.
Mr. Chair, Superintendent Gaines, members of the board, it's my privilege. I appreciate very much you asking me and having the opportunity to administer the oath, sir. Always happy to do it. And, Mr. Chair, I believe, if it's okay with you, we'll start with you. And if there's anyone that you have here with you that you would like to stand with you, please just invite them to come up.
I couldn't find anybody to come with me.
You may do it here. Okay. Sir, if you'd be kind enough to either place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right, or raise your right hand, whichever you prefer. Are you prepared to take the oath?
Yes, sir.
If you would be kind enough to repeat after me. I, Gary Cook,
I, Gary Cook,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States,
So help me God.
so help me God.
I, Gary Cook,
I, Gary Cook,
do solemnly and sincerely affirm
do solemnly and sincerely affirm
that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional powers
and to the constitutional powers
and authorities
and authorities
which are
which are
or may be established
or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor
and that I will endeavor
to support, maintain, and defend
to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with
not inconsistent with
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Gary Cook,
I, Gary Cook,
do further affirm
do further affirm
that I will well and truly
that I will well and truly
execute the duties
execute the duties
of the office of
of the office of
the Randolph County Board of Education,
the Randolph County Board of Education,
according to the best
according to the best
of my skill and ability,
of my skill and ability,
according to law,
according to law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, if you would be kind enough.
I'm thinking our votes were counted correctly, no doubt.
To sign. And on the second one. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Once again, appreciate you doing this.
Thank you. And next, Mr. Bowles will be kind enough to come forward. And with anyone you would like to accompany you, sir. All right. If you would be kind enough to place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right, or raise your right hand. Are you prepared to take the oath?
Yes, ma'am.
If you'd be good enough, please, to repeat after me. I, Tracy Bowles,
I, Tracy Bowles,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United
the
States.
Constitution of the United States,
So help me
so
God.
help me God.
I, Tracy Bowles,
I, Tracy Bowles,
do solemnly and sincerely affirm
do solemnly and sincerely affirm
that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
to bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional
and the constitutional
powers and authorities
powers and authorities
which are
which are
or may be established
or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor
and that I will endeavor
to support, maintain, and defend
to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with
not inconsistent with
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and
to
ability.
the best of my knowledge and ability.
So help me
So
God.
help me God.
I, Tracy Bowles,
I, Tracy Bowles,
do further affirm
do further affirm
that I will well and truly
that I will well and truly
execute the duties
execute the duties
of the office
of the office
of the Randolph County Board of
of
Education
the Randolph County Board of Education,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to the best of my skill and ability,
according to law,
according to law.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
You will be good enough, please, to sign both of these copies. And Godspeed to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, if Ms. Farrell would be kind enough to come forward, and anyone that you would like
I
to come
found a
with.
couple people that want to come today.
How are you? Welcome, glad to have you here. Would you like anyone to hold the Bible for you, or is this okay? All right. If you would be kind enough then to repeat after me, are you prepared to take the oath at this time?
I am.
All right. I, Sharon Farland,
I, Sharon Farley,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I, Sharon Farland,
I, Sharon Farley,
do solemnly and sincerely affirm
do solemnly, sincerely affirm
that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina,
and to the constitutional powers
to the constitutional powers
and authorities
and authorities
which are or may be
which are or may be
established
established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor
and that I will endeavor
to support, maintain, and defend
support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with
not inconsistent with
the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge and ability,
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
I, Sharon Farlow,
I, Sharon Farley,
do further affirm
do further affirm
that I will well and truly
that I will well and truly
execute the duties
execute the duties
of the office
of the office
of the Randolph County Board of Education
of the Randolph County Board of Education
according to the best
according to the best
of my skill and ability,
of my skill and ability,
according to law,
according to law.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations to you. You would be good enough to sign both of these papers. Thank you, Godspeed. And next, I may call up Mr. Mike Sink, the newest member of the board, I believe. And sir, do you have the other copy? Thank you. And would you like someone to come up with you? Which of the copies and bring to the other side? Thank you. She is certainly welcome if you would like. All right, sir, are you prepared to take the oath? If you would either place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right, or raise your right hand. And repeat after me, please. I, Mike Sink,
I, Mike Sink,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Mike Sink,
I, Mike Sink,
do solemnly
do solemnly
and sincerely affirm
and sincerely affirm
that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional
and to the Constitution,
powers and authorities
powers, and authority
which are
which are
or may be established
or may be established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
and that I will endeavor
and that I will endeavor
to support, maintain, and defend
to support, maintain, and defend
the Constitution of said state,
the Constitution of said state,
not inconsistent with
not inconsistent with
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
to the best
to the best
of my knowledge and ability,
to my knowledge and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I, Mike Sink,
I, Mike Sink,
do further affirm
do further affirm
that I will well
that I will well
and truly
and truly
execute the duties
execute the duties
of the office of
of the office of
the Randolph County Board of Education,
Randolph County Board of Education,
according to the best
according to the best
of my skill and ability,
of my skill and ability,
according to law,
according to law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. Sir, if you would be kind enough to sign off on both of these copies of the Thank you so much. Steve, to you. Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, once again, thank you for the privilege. The individual that you mentioned earlier wanted me to convey to each of you, and especially to you, her congratulations, best wishes. And I also want to say God's blessings to each of you and your families to stay safe and well and have a wonderful Christmas.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great Christmas too. Good. Okay, at this time, I want to call our regular monthly board meeting to order. And Mr. Mike Sink, we welcome you to our board. And we look forward to having you being a part of it, and I'm sure you'll enjoy it. You really, it's a good group of people to work with. I like to say sometimes we don't always agree, and that's okay, but when we leave, we're good. And everybody on this board, I can truly say, are here for the right reasons, and their heart's in the right place. And we found out since March that we're in, it's the toughest situation I've ever seen in my life. I mean, there's no correct answer. There's not, I know Dr. Gainey, but we went out on a limb. We're trying to keep these kids in school and do what we feel is the right thing to do. And you know what? I noticed today you've had a long day, and we appreciate the fight. I know you have to be tired. I called him Saturday night, and I guess we don't realize his wife answered the phone. It was his son's birthday, and he was tied up trying to keep it all together, chasing the cases, contact tracing, and you know, I know you've given up a lot of time and a lot of your family time. I apologize for your wife, and I actually promised you to get her something special for Christmas, a little more than usual. So try to hold up your end of the deal. But anyway, it's we appreciate it, and you know, I know we don't make everybody happy, but you just can't make everybody happy. We just try to do the right thing. But at this time, I do hope everybody gets a little break for the Christmas, though. That'll be important. Everybody needs a little rest, and I do wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a safe Christmas. It's time that you join the board for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. At this time, would you join us, stand with the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Gainey to share some comments.
Thank you, Mr. Cook, and board members, and welcome, Mr. Sink. Happy to have you with us. I want to share just some comments as we head into the last week before our winter break. First of all, I want to say thank you to Ms. Dunn, Ms. Tyson, Ms. Lamb at Coleridge Elementary School. Had an opportunity to read in their class in the last few weeks through Google Meets, which is much different than we normally do in leadership reads. Also had a chance to read to Ms. Fulton's class, Ms. Howard's class at Ramsey Elementary. I just want to say a big thank you to the teachers who have allowed me to come in their classroom through Google Meets, and the ones who have invited me for future dates. Today is December 14, and I just want to take a little bit of time to reflect on a couple of things from the 2020-2021 school year. To begin with, the Randolph County School System proudly opened school face-to-face instruction with the best we could do with the state standards on August 17, and today was day 81 of the school year. Very proud of that, very proud of the board's efforts and staff's efforts and students and parents. Throughout this time, students and staff members have worked hard to adjust to the use of face-to-face instruction and remote instruction at the same time. And without a doubt, and it cannot be ignored, it has been quite a struggle. And we need to respect that everybody has struggled to do the best they can, and that's all we can ask. Everyone is tired, but we can't overlook the great effort that everybody's made too, and continue to champion that and thank people for their great efforts, whether it be students, staff members, or parents. Contact tracing has now become a daily routine in our school system. Don't know that I ever saw that. Never saw that coming. Whether someone agrees with what our school system has done or not, he or she cannot deny that this work during the 2021 school year has been a great display of champions working together as a team for our students, who should always be the focus of our work. If you recall, back in June, July, and August, very little information about this pandemic gave us a chance of having school and student activities such as athletics, marching band, and hunter safety events. But here we are with volleyball, swimming, cross country, cheerleading, basketball, and many other activities in action for our kids. So I ask us all to do our part to keep these activities in place for our kids. Schools were built for kids to attend. So let's work hard to keep bringing them on campus as much as possible for this special time of their lives. We cannot control this pandemic, but we surely can continue to give our best effort to make sure our kids don't miss an important part of their lives with the chance to grow up on school campuses throughout this great county around some of the best kids in America. If you think about it, that's what school is all about, around the best kids in America. Success is measured by people in many different ways. Instead of talking about our school system's level of success in relation to this pandemic, I prefer to focus on saying thank you to everyone for your tremendous efforts during the 2020-2021 school year. And I surely don't want to leave out our Board of Education, because many people, time has passed by. But in this very room on July 20th, this Board of Education made a decision on the direction of our school system. And you've stuck with it. And I know it. Every week, someone else is affected by this pandemic. And every week you get hit with different things. And the numbers are rising. But you've stuck with it. Back in the summer, on several occasions, I shared my hope that we could make a run at this in terms of having students back on campuses during the 2020-2021 school year. Well, after 4 months of the 2020-2021 school year, I think all indicators point to the notion that we did make a run at this with a high level of effort and a refusal to give in. I hope everyone has a great winter break, and I look forward to the return after Friday when we close down for what we always have closed down for, which is winter break. I will look forward to our children coming back on January the 4th for the next part of the 2021 school year. And I will look forward to knowing that the activities that students have going on will happen, such as athletic practices, like they always have, just with a little different parameters in place. So as we move to the rest of this week and the second half of the school year, I want to note the following safety measures that need attention from everybody: our students, our staff members, and our parents. To begin with, all individuals will be required to wear cloth face coverings in school system facilities during the school day and after school hours at athletic events and other school activities. If you've developed COVID-19 symptoms, please stay at home. We want you with us. We want you on campus, students and staff, but we also want you taken care of. And we have means and we have parameters in place to do that. So please stay home and call the school and let us give you some direction on what to do next. If someone in your house has developed COVID-19 symptoms, please stay at home. Call your school for further directions. If you've been exposed to a positive person who has COVID-19, positive for COVID-19, please stay at home and call your school for further directions. Likewise, if you've tested positive for COVID-19, we need you to call us so we can help you and make a plan for getting you back at the appropriate time. And finally, as we go to a holiday break, I need you to remember that if you were to travel out of the country, please let us know, because when you come back, we want you back in school as soon as possible. We will impose a 14-day quarantine on you when you enter the country, back in the country from your time of entry, so that we can protect everybody and get you back in school as soon as possible. As we move to the holiday break, I want to personally thank each board member. I want to thank the students. I want to thank the staff members. And I want to thank the members of this community. This has been a struggle. I talked to one of my colleagues the other day, and he said, Stephen, if we make it to the winter break, I think it might be the most special thing I've ever been involved in. And I said to him, I said, he's a superintendent and very successful. I said, are you thinking y'all going to close down? He goes, no. I just didn't know if we'd make it past Labor Day weekend. But I sure wanted to try. Without a doubt, this is a special place, and it's surrounded and it's filled with special people. We've made it this far because we have special people who wanted to make it this far. And we will continue to move forward because we have special people who want to continue to move forward. And Mr. Cook, you're right. I'm tired, but I'm one of about 2,300 employees who's extremely tired, and another 7 board members who are tired, and we're going to do what it takes to keep moving forward the best we can to take care of everybody associated with the school system, because at the end of the day, these kids get one chance. We were just talking to Mr. Singh. They get one chance to play high school basketball. They get that 4-year window, or that 4-year window for high school volleyball. You know, we've had several things that have come up that we were just hoping kids could get a chance to have an opportunity to do as seniors, because a lot of them lost it as juniors. And so we're going to keep pushing, and we're going to do everything we can to keep everybody safe. And just want to say a big thank you to everybody involved with the school system. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. You know, we are lucky to have staff and parent, I mean, it's actually to be the toughest situation. I mean, you're exactly right. People have really handled it well and give it 100%. I do have one question, or before we go any further, it kind of ties in. I'm going to get you some batteries for Christmas for that mic, or maybe a new mic. Hey, we got some new guys back there in the back with technologies. One of the things you need to do is bring extra batteries. But hey, I want to clear something up real quick. The question, we're calling for snow, possibly some winter weather on Wednesday, and I've been asked about 4 or 5 times today, and I think I answered it right because I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. But I'm going to confirm it with you. I know we've had this conversation, but let's make it public. Hey, if it snows and we're out of school, is that a remote day? I mean, what happened to those 5 days? Hey, tell me we have 4 of those left.
You're talking to probably the superintendent in North Carolina who hates snow and ice the most. Okay? I don't know. I'm going to say I'm probably, no one dislikes it more than me. I've got a little boy at home who loves every time a flake falls because he's thinking what's going to happen. But if we miss school because of weather, we're going to handle it like we have in the past. We will do just like we have. Employees that are listening out there, parents, we have 5 days we absorb in our calendar each year. We've absorbed 1 already. I think it was the 19th of October because of high winds, or was it 19th of November? Was it October? We will absorb those other 4 days as weather comes along, and then we'll have to do other things. I know the question is out there. Okay, we have all this remote instruction. What are we going to do now with weather? Are we ever going to have a weather day that people enjoy? Yes, we will have weather days. If we get into a bind and about a 3-week snow, we might have to talk about it a little bit because we don't want to be in school in July. And we're going to make sure we get school in. But Mr. Cook, board members, I have all intentions of not changing the way we deal with the weather. Mr. Sink, I will tell you, once we make decisions on weather, all kinds of questions start popping then, as you probably know, but we will continue to act in a manner remember we have to decide on what to do with the students and then what to do with the staff on weather days. And those first 5 days we absorb per our calendar. And the board has afforded us that opportunity to continue to do that, and it's worked very well. It's given the school system a lot of flexibility to get through some very tough winters. And then we get into some other issues with activities and all, but we'll keep working at it the way we have in the past.
That's what we call a loaded question. I knew the answer, but I just want everybody to hear it. Thank you, Dr. Gaines. Moving on to recognitions. Tim Moody, there you are.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Good evening to you, all the board members, Dr. Gaines, all of our guests. Each year, the Randolph County School System selects a holiday card that has been designed by one of our students. In alternating years, we select a winner from elementary school, middle school, and high school. And for the current 2020-2021 school year, it's our high school's turn. Each August, we send a letter to the schools asking them to submit their students' holiday cards by the end of October, and all cards are displayed in our central office and are voted upon by our central office staff members. The selected card for the 2020-2021 school year was designed by Sakina Causey. She's a 9th grade student at Randleman High School, and Sakina's art teacher at Randleman High School is Jane Sibley Hager. Just want to let you know that nearly 200 copies of Sakina's winning card have been printed and will be sent to all of our own schools, our central office departments, approximately 25 area school systems, local businesses, local chambers of commerce, city and county offices, and local dignitaries. So we do have good distribution of the winning card. So Sakina Causey, if you would please come forward. Board member Sharon Petty Farlow has a plaque or a framed edition of your card, and also some additional copies of the card for you. So congratulations on a job very well done. Thank you very much.
Okay, board members, at this time, as we do every year in December, I'd like to call the board's annual board meeting to order. And at this time, I will accept nominations for board chair.
Again, I'd like to nominate Gary Cook as board chair.
Okay, any other nominations? Okay, being that there are no other nominations out there, is there a motion to appoint Gary Cook as board chair by acclamation? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All in favor, all opposed say no. Okay, at this time, Mr. Chair, Mr. Cook, I will turn the rest of the annual board meeting over to you as the chair.
And thank you very much for the opportunity to be chair once again. It's an honor to be chair and serve with you guys, you all on the board. Like I said before, you guys have become like family to me, and I really appreciate working with you in everything we do. And so at this time, I would accept the nomination for board vice chair. If I could, I'd like to nominate Brian Biggs. You have, it's been a pleasure working with you, and I know there's times over the past year that I've called and I've been aggravated and needed someone to vent and listen to, and it's just been a tough year, but you've listened, and I appreciate you being there, and the fact that we were able to have those good conversations we need to have, and so I'd like to nominate Brian Biggs. So just is there any more nominations for board vice chair? So I need a second.
You can do the same thing that Dr. Gainey did, which is ask for the board to approve by acclamation.
Okay. Okay, since there are no more nominations, is there a motion to appoint Brian Biggs as vice chair?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Brian, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Gary. I appreciate that board, and each and every one here is very special. And it has been a trying time, and there has been discord and discussions, and me and Gary's had some discord and discussions, but we always we want to do what's best, and I think everyone here does, and I'm proud to serve on this board with each and every one of you, and I've learned a lot from each and every one on this board, including Dr. Gainey and his staff. Thank you.
We've argued a time or two. Okay, so moving on, I need a motion to approve the October 14th, 2020 minutes, the October 19th, 2020 minutes, and the November 16th, 2020 minutes. Do we have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we had no one to sign up for public comments tonight. So we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. I need a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So we will move on to the information items with, I almost called you Dr. COVID when I called him, and his wife, I said, can I speak to Dr. COVID? I'm sorry. In his basement it's the lab. But, anyway, Dr. Gainey, sorry.
Should have got my lap coat.
I know.
That's all right. Yeah, I'll go back to whatever it takes, we'll do the best we can, and keep moving forward. Board members, tonight I have some information items I want to present to you. I want to make sure we recognize the groups that have provided these gifts and donations. The first one, these are all information items because they were $5,000 or less per board policy 8220. If you recall, when it's $5,000 or less, I can accept it on behalf of the board and need to report it out to the board, so I'll bring it next month to the board as information. The first one is a gift to Liberty Elementary School from December 1. I received an email from Kelly Harrell. It's from the United Methodist Men's Group at Piney Grove United Methodist Church in Siler City in the amount of $100 to be used on the school's library. The second gift, Kelly Harrell again sent me an email on December 2nd, and this gift was in the amount of $200 from Laura McLaughlin, and it was not designated for anything specific, be used for any need at the school. So thank you to Ms. McLaughlin for that gift to Liberty Elementary School. The next gift was Eastern Randolph High School. November 17, Susan Chappell notified me that there was a $2,500 gift given to Eastern Randolph High School by James McDaniel of NC Coatings in Staley, and the gift was designated to be used to support the school's academic program. And I do think Susan told me in the email that she's going to use it to buy some additional Chromebooks. And the last gift in this group is from Allen Tate Realtors. I don't know if you've followed this in the last couple of years, but about once a year I'm called to their office and they present a gift to our school system, and it's always a thrill to go over there. They seem very excited about what's going on in our system and ask a lot of questions, and just easy to talk to, and just good partners of our school system. And so I was over there last week on December the 8th and was given a $1,000 gift, and the use of this gift is unrestricted, so we'll work with Todd Lowe to decide where that money is used. So those are the information items. At this time I have Todd Lowe will be coming forward to talk to you about another information item. Actually, Todd will be connecting by Zoom.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you?
Hold on, guys. They can't see you yet. Can you hear us? Now they can see. Can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, board members. Due to the COVID-19 impact on high school and middle school athletics this year, I wanted to present the 2020-2021 coaching payment schedule for your information. We're going to look at this schedule as a temporary schedule in hopes that things will return to normal for the 21-22 school year. So this schedule represents one-time payments to coaches occurring in the month closest to the end of each sports season. Therefore, if we look at January, high school cross country and volleyball payments would be made. Moving on to February, we would have middle school basketball, middle school football, middle school cheerleading payment, and then high school basketball, high school swimming. In March, middle school volleyball, high school men's soccer. In April, middle school baseball and middle school soccer, and then high school football, golf, and cheerleading. And then May, we would finish up with middle school softball and wrestling, high school tennis, women's soccer, softball, baseball, track, and wrestling. Also wanted to note that athletic directors and assistant athletic directors will continue to receive their supplements in 10 equal installments throughout the year. And then also, all high school and middle school coaching and athletic allotment were based on projected 2020, 2021 ADM numbers, not actual. So we held everybody harmless to the what we thought we would have in terms of enrollment this year. Do you have any questions on that schedule?
Todd, this is Brian Biggs. We're looking at these dates, looking at the worst case scenario, looking at a season, maybe middle school basketball or something like that is cut short, or in January. Are we looking at things that maybe would be, where we could prorate those some if needed? Because, I mean, I know that's the worst case scenario, but it is possible that we wouldn't get to that point. And they would have, you know, participated, put in all the work and the time. Is that something we could look at later? If it, God forbid, it comes up. But
right, so let me make sure, are you saying that if the season is cut short, so let's
if
say
it's cut short due to COVID-19.
Season, that they only get to play half a season?
Yeah, something like that due to COVID-19. I mean, God forbid, but we're just looking out in front of everything that could happen, you know, has happened this year. Would that be something we could look at, maybe prorating for those guys, or you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be something we could look at if those situations come up.
Okay, and I'm not looking for that. I hope, God forbid, it does, you know.
Board members, I'd like to interject something here. We're in a very unusual time. We have some absolute fantastic people leading our kids in sports all across this county. They're great role models. They are great strategists in the sports they coach. And if we start having issues with getting sports seasons in, we're going to do everything we can to make sure we're also protecting our coaches. Okay. Because the last thing I want to do is lose coaches during an unusual time and not have them when things come back. So I've been in that world as a coach and a coaching salary involved, and I want to make sure we're protecting our coaches. We were able to do that last spring, and I'm just going to be real upfront with you, and I don't look at I don't want to saving a little bit on the budget versus losing great people don't mix in my eyes. So we'll have to figure out something. Should sports seasons not make, or should sports seasons come not make all the way through? But we have some, I mean, I have the great thrill of going around this county, and about everywhere I go, I can roll into a school and see a great individual leading a group of kids in many ways, not just athletics, but character and all the teaching that goes on. So I want to make sure we're protecting them. We've worked hard protecting employees every step of the way, the whole way since this started on March 14, and that's what Todd and I, we've had many discussions about what if a sport doesn't make, what do we do then, and we're going to do what we can to make sure we're taking care of our people.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Any other questions?
Thank you, Todd.
I want to say a big thank you to Todd on behalf of the school system, because we've been looking at this for a while on how we can get this as manageable as possible, and with the payment schedules and all. So thank you, Todd, because he's been working at it, and he came in about 3 weeks ago with this, wanting to make sure this was very tight as we got into some uncharted waters, Mr. Biggs, as you mentioned. We're getting ready to get into some.
Yeah.
And it's the inside sports are going to be the toughest. They're going to be the tough ones, and we got to figure a way to navigate it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you, Todd.
Appreciate you saying that other too, because it's more than just a season. It's a year-round thing for that role model figure that a lot of these coaches make such a difference in a kid's life. Keep them on the right track. At this time, we need a motion to approve the consent items. Have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We'll move on now to the action items with Dr. Gainey.
And board members, I want to say one other thing that happened back in early June, and I think we had a Zoom meeting, speaking of the athletics, and we had athletic directors on there, principals were on there, high school, middle school principals, and marching band directors. And I remember talking about, we were gonna start workouts back on June 15th when we could. That was the first time everybody was allowed, we were gonna start. And we talked about the different things in place. And I remember saying to these athletic directors and band directors, that we allowed marching band to start. Didn't know what the fall would look like, and we didn't want marching bands to be behind when fall started if we started up on time. But I remember saying, you're gonna help lead us back to school. You're getting ready to show people we can do some stuff with these special rules in place. We're not gonna stand back, and you guys wanna be out there, help us. And you know, my memory of the summer is we had to shut 2 programs down all summer long for a little window of time. And we told coaches what had to happen. They did it, and we moved on. And so the athletic directors and coaches really, they stepped up big time on behalf of the school system this summer in a big way of kind of helping us start charting our course of how we were going to go when we got in August with school. So big thank you to them and the principals behind them. Okay, board members, now we're into some action items. Mr. Cook, I'll go through a couple action items, and I have one that Larry Chilton and Dale Brinkley will be bringing tonight as well. The first one I want to talk about is, and the reason this is action is because of board policy 8220. We deal with grants and gifts all in, it's the same. And this is a grant, it's a GO grant from the North Carolina Outdoor Heritage Advisory Council. The amount of it is $6,270, and since it's more than $5,000, I have accepted it, but I have to have final approval from the board. So that is, we're going to use it to build an outdoor classroom shelter at uwarry Ridge 612, and we're in the process of working on that right now. We've got some more steps, and if we get to a point where we cannot, there is some question how long we can hang on to this money, and we've got some people working, and maybe we can keep it past December because we're not going to be ready to put up this outdoor shelter. But if it comes to that, then we will have to return the money. But at any rate, we're going to work on an outdoor classroom shelter at uwarry Ridge, and so I bring that to you tonight, this grant, for approval.
Okay, so need a motion to approve the acceptance of the grant given to uwarry Ridge 612.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And Kathy Waddell and Larry Chappell and Larry Chilton and Dale Brinkley, they've all been very involved in that grant, as well as some other things. Larry will be bringing a facility improvement to you in just a second, which is connected to the next set of gifts. This is a gift at Wheatmore High School. They're going to build a storage building near the soccer field, or soccer practice field. When I was looking at this, I'd rather bring it for approval than try to guess and miss on something that should have come for approval. There's $2 figures. Childers Concrete Company in High Point donated $875 for the cost of the concrete, and an anonymous donor donated $560 worth of materials from Martin Marietta Quarry in Thomasville. I looked at the other 2 parts of the gift, Vega Metal Structure and Concrete in Randaman. They donated labor to dig, form, and pour the concrete, and DNR Watts Grading in Archdale transported 3 loads of materials. Well, I don't know where those $2 figures would rest when you start talking about labor and transporting loads of materials, so I felt like that there was a good chance this whole package was over $5,000. So I wanted to bring the whole package to you tonight for approval, thinking this whole gift package is probably over $5,000. It was the way it was sent to me by Eric Johnson, principal of Wheatmore High School. So I bring that to you tonight.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the acceptance of the gifts given to Wheatmore High.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we'll bring in Larry and Dale. We're going to talk to you about the facility improvement.
I guess you guys are expecting the big introduction from me tonight since it's your first time here. Welcome, Larry and Dale. Welcome.
Good evening.
You guys glad to have you guys. They've been on board for a long time. It's glad to have you with us, and I think you guys, Dr. Gainey and staff, made a great choice. And you guys, I'm sure when we were talking before, I guess the final decision, we were talking how important it is for have people that people skills and people already out working are familiar with you and like you and all that, and that's important, and how you treat people. So, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Good evening, board members. Tonight, we do bring you a recommendation to approve facility improvements at Wheatmore High School. Eric Johnson, principal at Wheatmore High School, has requested approval to make these improvements by installing a metal storage building, which will be placed near the school's soccer practice field and will be used for the storage of soccer equipment. The Wheatmore High School athletic program will be responsible for the funding of this project with help of fundraisers and through gifts received by the school, as just mentioned by Dr. Gaines, acted on funding. And again, we do recommend approval of this project.
You have any questions? At this time, we need a motion to approve the facility improvements at Wheatmore High School.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Dr. Gandy, that one grant that we're getting there from URI, is that, you said we gotta spend it a certain amount of time, can that work be paid for in advance where it can already be spent, or can we allocate it that way? I know you said if it's not spent by certain.
We looked at a lot of options, but part of the problem with that project is we've had to catch up on this one. This was one that was kind of moving forward and we didn't know. But we've got to do some work, some survey work out there. Larry Chilton and his staff will be working with getting the site surveyed because of some issues on the land at uwarry. We could likely be 3 months out before we see the movement on it. So we have a legislator working with us, trying to get the money extended beyond, because we understand several people who receive these grants are not in a position to use it before the end of December. So we'll see where that goes, and if
For a contractor that is on, that is.
no, we're not at that stage. It's gonna be, part of it is you've got some concrete to pour, but we've gotta be surveyed, it has to have a survey. And we've gotta make sure we've got the right place on the campus for it to be built.
Yeah, it had to be certified by engineer.
Yeah. Some things that Kathy has been working with Larry Chilton, just make sure we don't, the property at uwarry has some special needs out there that we've got to be very careful with, or we can get out of bounds in a hurry. And there's another project you may see soon that likewise will take a little bit longer, but we're looking at a possible greenhouse out there, and that's going to take some time too. But we'll work with it, and if for some reason we can't get an extension of the money, then we'll do something there to try to make this happen.
Yeah, you just hate for it not to happen.
But we need it to happen. We just want to make sure we're not out of bounds with any of the county officials with the use of the land. That's what our issue is right now.
Hang on, baby. I just wanted to bring it up because I know Dr. Gainey, he's got emails, and y'all read these emails too, that, we've had some schools shut down on all virtual. And I've had some phone calls and people approached me, and I know Dr. Gainey got the emails and he's answered them quite well, but some people just might not understand. There's people out there who want us to go all virtual next week instead of those 3 days in school. Their concerns are, some of these schools are just going back, or will be going back next week. And they talk about, why couldn't we just go virtual those 3 days where, we're extending the safety period, where we can you know, where the school system will say, hey, we've done our part to try to keep people safe. And I know in-person teaching vital. But also, my thoughts is if we dig a virtual those 3 days, we can say the Randolph County school system, we've done our part trying to keep our kids safe and their families safe through the holiday season. You know, this was brought to me, and I said I would mention it. I've read Dr. Gainey's emails, and I understand them completely. So, that's my thoughts on that. And I was told, I told people who have called me, I would bring it up. And I can understand their concerns, but I also understand our concerns about face-to-face with our students and teachers. And bring it up, just if emails got any other discussion on it.
I think we're probably talking about, a couple of schools that are scheduled to come back this Wednesday or something.
Tabernacle New Market are scheduled to come back tomorrow. And anybody else that's on remote is, will not come back till the 4th. So Tabernacle, once we got to a certain point, remember when we have to, and one of the things I want to make sure everybody listening understands is, well, way back the first school we put on 14-day remote, I remember talking to Brian Toth. It was a Sunday, it was August 30th, I do believe. And I said, Brian, we're going to get the stuff together, but we have got to tell the parents now why we are putting on 14-day remote. We can't leave it out there for them to wonder if it was because 30 kids went home or 50 kids, or it's always been, what I do with the principals is, once they identify who was affected, I tell them to go call everybody individually, and then they come back to me and I say, we have the conversation, can you have school with the number of staff you've lost? Sometimes they can't have school because they already had X number out already, or they may say to me, well, I've got this many out, but this many are coming back on Wednesday, and it's 2 days away or whatever. So last week, actually, it was the Friday, the 4th. I think when you count the days, I think Trinity High was the first one maybe that when they had to be put on remote the other week on that Friday, if you counted out 14 days, there wasn't going to be a day for them to come back. So now we have, I want to say, give me a second, I can tell you. I want to say it's 9, but let me just, so I'm saying to make sure right now, after Tabernacle and New Market come back tomorrow, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 schools will come back on the 4th. They're on remote for the rest of this week.
Yeah, I understand that from a parent's perspective. And to me, it does sound like, that would be the most, it would just seem like we would do that, but at the same time, we still got, you said that was 9 total?
Yes, 9.
Still got 22 other schools. If we say that those 2 schools could stay out the rest of the week, then we'd have to do that to the other 22 schools, and I don't think we're in a position to do that.
It would be the other 20.
20.
Remember, there's 9 already out to the 4th. Or
9, I thought you're right.
Yeah,
It will be 20.
Starting tomorrow, we'll have 22 going face-to-face.
Yeah, and if we don't stay in the process of the 14 days, then, we're going to have to tell 20 other schools that, and, you're off Wednesday, Thursday, Friday also. I don't think we're in a position to do that. And it's just still trying to operate a school system in a gray area, and people want black and white answers, and it's just not going to be that way. And So I don't think we should detour from the 14 days. We just need to stay on course.
Board members, and I think that it would be arbitrary to pick 2 schools out and have them stay out when there isn't an exposure issue, because you have the rest of the system on Plan B. So you've got to have, whatever plan you're on, A, B, or C, for the particular grade levels has to be system-wide, and then you can justify being out based on quarantine or exposure, whatever the other DHHS, DPI guidance is, but I don't think that you have a justification in this particular instance.
I do have one question, Dr. Gainey. I know there's been some talk of the 14 days. It's changed to 10 in some. Has that been mentioned with school systems, or have you heard anything?
Well, that jumped out real quick in the public. And if you read, when you saw some of the stuff that came out, it came back to you need to talk to your local health officials. And there is, okay, the 14-day back to 10-day, but it basically says, then you got to watch, and I'm sure there's somebody out there that will tell me that I'm misinterpreting it, but I've talked at length with Director of Randolph Health. Those 4 days aren't just completely off the docket. You bring them back 10 days, there's also an issue about whether, there's also a chance to bring somebody back after 7 days, provided they get a negative COVID. Those were the 2 things that were mentioned, and we did research that, and we decided to stay the course where we were. The last thing we need, I will tell you, I think have not heard a lot of when we've had to put groups out of major outbreaks after we've dealt with that. Now, I think we've been able to stay out in front of some things. Now, granted, does that make everybody happy? No. Now that we have some other factors in place, let's just say what it is. The high school kids and the middle school kids are already sensing after this winter break, here comes our athletics. And when you start hitting situations where it's going to put a team down for 14 days, that's not fun to anybody, and it's surely not fun to me. I love knowing, I wish I could see the events I was seeing in past years, but I don't want to go in and bump some parent from their spot in the gym to see their child. But, the 14 days, Mr. Cook, based on our review of that with Susan Hayes and talking, I didn't feel real good about the way I read it, because it was almost like the way you can bring them back, and then you better be watching them for 4 more days, and I'm going to bring a child back, and then I'm going to call their mom that night and tell their mom or dad and say, oh, keep them back out for 4 days. And I'm sure there's a health official out there that will say, Gainey, you're interpreting that wrong. Well,
can I clarify too for everyone? Sorry, Mike. DHHS and CDC have been very clear that you cannot shorten from the 14 days without approval from your local health department. So the recommendation is still 14 days, but there's some exceptions that can only be authorized by the local health officials. So it is not a blanket rule. I think that's been really confusing out there in the press. And most local health departments have not changed the course on the 14 days for schools, at least before the winter break. Because this rule came out only a couple weeks ago, so it just really didn't make sense.
and to be very transparent with all board members, the first time I asked Ms. Hayes about this, I led with, I'm not real comfortable with this, but I knew it was already, by the time we saw it, it was already out everywhere. I've not been comfortable with the language I saw with that, Mr. Cook, and what we're dealing with right now.
I think what's confusing people too, there's two things that are listed on the Randolph County Health Department website. There's a question that it says, when is it safe to be around others again? And
it prefaces by saying, if you think or know you had COVID-19 and you had symptoms, you can be around others again after at least 10 days since the symptoms first appeared, and at least 24 hours with no fever, without fever-reducing medication, and symptoms have improved. And then they have another thing on here that says, if you tested for COVID-19 but had no symptoms, if you continue to have no symptoms, you can be around others again after 10 days have passed since you got your positive test result. I think people are reading that as, why can't we go to 10 days instead of just staying on 14?
But the 14 days is referring to if a person was exposed to another person who had COVID-19, not if they had COVID-19 themselves.
And there's another piece to the 14 days. That's the household rule, that if you're in the household with someone who has symptoms, you're out for 14 days. And I will tell you, originally, the only way you could come back, like, if you were out because someone in your house had symptoms, the only way you come back early originally was if the person who had symptoms went and got a negative COVID result. But we had a parent that questioned that, I remember, and it wound up getting in Raleigh, and they changed it to, if you get a negative COVID result, then the person who's been put out because you had symptoms can come back early. Or if you get an alternative diagnosis, the doctor will give you an alternative diagnosis from what your symptoms are, then the person that was put out where the household will come back early. So really, there's, to me, one thing that's not, or the situation's not changed. You really have three situations. One is the person themselves have symptoms. And that's what, when you were describing, they're out 10 days, and they're out 10 days, but they can come back early with a negative COVID or alternative diagnosis in 24 hours, no fever, no symptoms. Then you've got the person that's exposed to a positive. And there's no way to come back early from that. You're out 14 days because it takes 14 days for that, for the possible incubation period. And then you have the household rule. That was the third piece that jumped in about middle of September. And that's when our contact tracing really picked up, because you call and you've got symptoms, and we've got to find out everybody else in your house that's in our school system, because they're all going home too.
Even though you tested, even though you've been exposed to someone and you tested and it's negative, you can't come back after those 10 days.
That's correct. It's 14 days because of all the false negatives.
Because here's what's happened too. There are opportunities where people have gone and got tested too soon. And they will tell you, I want to say it's 5, 6, 7 days. Really, if you're in this picture of COVID, you really shouldn't go get tested. What we've been told is shouldn't go get tested too soon, because it could be a false negative. And here's another piece that happened. People were going to get the rapid test early on, and the only part of the rapid test that counts now, that came out about a month ago, was if you got a positive from a rapid test. If you got a negative, it didn't count.
Okay, how about this? One more question. How about if a school is shut down because of a positive COVID test, and you've had it, and then maybe a couple days later you learn of another positive COVID test at the same school? Does that 14 days start over for that school on that second positive test?
It's 14 days from the last exposure.
You're looking at the individual. We have to
Yes,
look at
individual, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to look in that, and that's where it gets real dicey.
Even though, okay.
But Mr. Cutler, in your scenario, most of the time there isn't going to have been an exposure at school because they got shut down before the second test, right?
Well, all right, how about this? You got an athletic team, and you had an athletic player who tested positive, okay, then it shuts down the whole team at 14 days. But then you learn 2 days later, you have another player, or 3 days later, or 4 days later. So it seems like even though those players have not been around this person, the original one, the 14 days starts again on the second one.
But see, that's where you have to go to the second one, and you've got to look at where their 48-hour window look back is. You look back 48 hours from when they started having symptoms, and if they didn't have symptoms, you go to the day they tested, and you look back 48 hours. So it could be unfortunate. Somebody could be grabbed in the first case's 48-hour look back, and then the other case's 48-hour look back could be a different time. So the whole issue with all of this is, what you're hearing from the medical world is this thing has 14 days of incubation. So that's part of, that gets into it too. I've dealt with cases like that too, where it would be great if both cases, their look back period aligned. So you could,
Yeah, but why couldn't you bring back the athletic team off the first case and not let them, and not extend them out with the second case?
well, you got to look and see, you really have to look and see if who was the exposures in each case. Sometimes it may be one and the same, or sometimes you may have kids with case one who, even though they might have been on that team, they weren't exposed. Maybe they, sometimes we'll have schools where we have to remove a whole class, and then there's 5 kids that weren't there the day of the exposure, so they can come home from school. So it really have to look at the orientation back to each case and who was in that each case's look back period. So we're spending a lot of time on that. We do, and because we want to be as fair, and like right now. So here's one. Right now we have, I told you we have 9 schools that are out until January 4th. Okay? We have some activities going. Well, January 4th is the first time kids are coming back to school. But I do know the 14-day window is going to run out on some athletes before January 4th. So we'll work with them. You know, if they've been out there true 14 days, then we're going to work with them and work with their coaches and their principals. So there will be a little bit of a slide scale there for the holiday. But if a kid's not involved in athletics, we're not going to see them any earlier than the 4th anyways. So you're going to hear the 4th, but you may have a child that's exposure to a case who may come back to a practice on the 29th. I was dealing with something today, and will come back on the 29th, some kids, because of where the 14-day window is.
And they're just out 14 days and then they come back, right?
Yeah,
and
we
these
count.
people are getting, they're staying positive for weeks and weeks and weeks.
And we count from the day we learn it, because that's the only way we get all kinds of information. So
the 14 days begins when you learn about
Yeah.
it and not when they were potentially exposed.
we've done that from the beginning, because we've had cases where we get the case on the front end, somebody has symptoms, and symptoms start now, and then when they turn up positive, then we learn, oh no, symptoms started way up here, and we've gotten conflicting information. The only way we could be consistent and make sure we were maintaining safety was that. So we've done that since day one.
It's totally confusing, isn't it? I call him at night sometime, and I'll have a question, and he answers it, but when we finish, I'm still thinking, we just need to go to the lab and let him.
Makes perfect
Well,
sense.
all of this is,
I can't comprehend it, it's so complicated.
all of it's based on what your local health department has advised the school system to do and what the North Carolina DHHS has told school systems to do.
But
It's very complicated and it changes a lot.
But from the beginning, on the counting of days, that was what we established from the very beginning. That was not, because quite frankly, and every now and then, we'll get something that the health department's put in writing, and I'm not going to argue with the health department. I'm not going to go against them or a doctor, but real early on, we were getting conflicting information about, and it's not, no one was doing it on purpose. I don't mean it that way, but it was conflicting, and it was we didn't want it to affect cases and endanger people. So that's why the only way we could be consistent was to go from when we learned it.
I know that's what you're doing, but, also the health department is citing mask wearing per the CDC guidelines, but yet the CDC also changed the guidelines on this quarantine, and they're not.
But the CDC specifically said that they recommend 14 days and that this is an exception to shorten based on what the local health officials determine is appropriate in the community. I just want everybody to be really clear about what the federal and state guidance has been, because it, I think, has been communicated differently, and obviously the school system has got to follow what is written down and put out by the government.
And if you, as I said in a meeting the other day, I'm not sure I'm following. The cases are rising, and we come up with these other short windows. That doesn't seem to be consistent. We all seen the cases go up, and then these options have come in for short windows. I worry that if we bring people back too soon, we may have a different result than we've had up to this point, but I don't know.
Okay. Real quickly, I want to just touch on one more thing before we go to closed session. I think the number one, and I shouldn't lay this on you now, but I need to just, I think the number one thing I hear, there's like some kids, like when you're doing the remote learning, and I understand they don't have the help at home, and it's just tougher on some, and then I had a parent talking today, what an experience she had with the teacher, it was like they were right there live and everything. Are we trying to be more consistent? I mean, I know we can't all be on the same page. I wish we were on the same page, because I wish everybody doing the remote learning could experience what the parent was telling me today. It wasn't all on the parent. The teacher, I guess it was so good, it was like she was right there in their house, and I just want us to keep stressing. I know it's not easy, but equipment-wise, and I know everybody don't have the same chance, but sure wish they did. I mean, it bothers me to hear an A student struggling and with a C or a D, and and sometimes it may be the kid not doing the work at home, but it's not always that case, and that's troubling. And following on to that, I know I forwarded you an email today. Is the state superintendent, what is that? Are they trying to help us, or is he just talking as he's going out of office, or did you make any sense out of it, or should I even ask that question? But I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there any hope there?
He and the state board are on different opinions of the weight of the state test. I've received a couple emails that have come to large groups from the state superintendent on this issue. I don't think that is going to waver. We have two groups we answer to with testing. The federal government with the ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act, and one of the things, there was an appeal on testing, and the federal government immediately turned it down. This was way back early in the school year, and said there would be no appeals to testing because part of our ESSA plan is governed by our testing requirements. There's in that plan is stuff that the federal government expects us to have. One of the things is a 95% participation rate, which we're all worried about, because if you don't get 95% of your kids tested, then they fill in the denominator with non-provisions, which is going to hurt your scores. There's also a 95% rule at the state level with the state testing program, which is some one and the same at points with the federal government. We're using the same test that we have to use for the federal requirements, which helps us. There's a chance there'll be some help at the state level. What the state board and the state superintendent are talking about, the weight of the EOCs and state tests, I don't think that's gonna change, because the flip side of that is, I read where the state board chair, Eric Davis, said, this will be our indicator of where our gaps are with children. Well, I like that, but I don't want the Randolph County school system beat over the head any more than any of the other 114 school systems for letter grades and tests. It's our scores, our schools being given letter grades. So there's a question now that there will be another attempt at maybe accountability standards will not be in place like the grading of schools. Instead of going after no test, because we've been told that's not happening for the federal government, then there'll be a question of can we go after a waiver of having to put grades on schools and stuff of that nature this time around. So there's still more to come. What you're seeing on the email right now between the state superintendent and the state board chair, the state board and the new superintendent-elect, he is talking about what flexibility he perceives is there. The state board says it's not there to take away the 20%. What I hope at the end we will do, and I'll tell you, I grew up at the coast and I watched some school systems that I think, and one's near and dear to me, the one that raised me, Craven County. And then there's some other ones right there, got hit by 2 hurricanes back to back in the fall of 18. And I remember saying multiple times, please tell me when this school year's over and they've missed 50 days, but you've forgotten about it because it's June when you test. You'll put an asterisk by their test scores as a state. So because there's some great people down there that don't deserve to be represented by the results of missing 50 days of school. Well, you know the end of the story. I don't remember seeing anything. So I'm not going to ask for an asterisk by anything this time. I hope we will find a way to waive some things so we can protect the confidence of our children, the confidence of our teachers who work hard every day, and 2 days a week face-to-face is not the same as 5 days a week, and the confidence of our principals and our central service staff are providing support. I hope there'll be some support somewhere along the way, that some things will be looked at differently, not to make excuses. I want us to get better. We need to get better, but we're in a different time than anybody's seen. So that's kind of a roundabout answer, Mr. Cook, but there's a lot out there. There's going to be another push towards the federal government, but I think this time it'll be different than let's go after no testing. I think it might go towards let's go after, can we not have all the accountability measures? And we're not the only state. Randolph County school system's not the only school system, and we're surely not the only state. Georgia immediately reapplied for an appeal and got it sent right back, real quick, after back in, I think it was September, U.S. Department of Education released a statement that would be testing. And Georgia appealed it immediately, and it got sent right back.
That's
probably too early. Yeah, so we're going to see what happens. But there's a lot of pieces here. Obviously, we've got academic deficits mounting every day. And it's nobody's fault. It's not the kids' fault. It's not staff's fault. And in every day, we have people whose competence is getting bumped around. And when you talk about the online teaching, I understand that. But I think back to, if this hadn't happened, you still have in schools, you have some teachers that are very quick to differentiate and very quick to have somewhat of a student-run classroom. You have others who have a more direct teaching style. They can be equally effective, but to change one to the other style is very difficult. And what people don't realize is teachers are uncomfortable too. I don't think there's a teacher in America who is resisting remote instruction because they don't want to help kids. I think if you pull it back a little bit, you'll find out they're uncomfortable with the whole situation, and their heart's as big as anybody's towards kids. And we just got to figure a way to keep coming at them. And even if they react different than we want them to react, it may be because they're discomfort. You see that in kids in class. Kids don't always perform well in class, and sometimes they may act out in class. And that's not because It's not always because they're bad kids. I'm not gonna say any kid's a bad kid. Maybe it's they're trying to, maybe they're very uncomfortable. I would say that's what's happening with a lot of teachers across America right now. They're uncomfortable with the hand that's been dealt them since March 14, and we didn't get much of a warm-up time. It wouldn't matter if it's Canvas or any other learning management system, it'd be the same thing.
You know, it is a shame though if, you answered that, I'm glad the way you answered that. You're thinking like, I mean, it's just not fair that the cards that have been dealt. I mean, teachers, students, and everyone. I mean, it's a shame that you want to just cram the test, cram this, and don't. I mean, it's not fair. It's not fair to anybody. Teachers, students.
One of my favorite emails of the year was Mr. Harmon from Trinity High School sent me a picture of all his welding samples that he was taking off to be tested the other day. I was in his classroom about a month and a half ago, and he was concerned about the amount of time he didn't have with the children. But he still found a way to get those off to be tested, and those kids are coming out of this program, and there's all over this school system, but they're coming out of this program with great credentials and certifications. But that was a big highlight, because I was like, okay, he got them to a point to get those samples out there, and that's a huge accomplishment. Talking about taking 3 days a week.
That's making a lot of money too.
You take 3 days a week away from his instruction of those kids, and to have that as a picture of all of them right there on my email, and it was it means something. It means something that he's taking advantage of everything, and there's teachers all over the system doing the absolute. That's why I say thank you, because people all over this system are doing the absolute best they can.
There are a lot of good things happening.
And I guess that's the part that really is frustrating, because they're working all the effort they put out. Then you take somebody can't be flexible with any rule or a little bit to help them. I mean, that's not fair. That's not fair. I mean, what do you think a teacher feels like when they see that happen, and they know that's not what would be happening if they were in there? I mean, it's got to be tough. I mean, I'm sure it bothers them just as much as it does the parents and everybody else. I just hate the way, we all have to give and work together. And I mean, when I see those emails come in, I'm thinking, come on guys, do your part too, you know? Okay, random.
At this time, I move that the Randolph County Board of Education will enter into closed session pursuant to the North Carolina General Statute to preserve the attorney-client privilege to discuss confidential personnel matters protected by the North Carolina General Statute.
Can we have the motion to go into closed session? Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're in closed session.
You're good.
Okay. So we need a motion to, we return to open session. So we need a motion to approve the certified personnel report. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We need a motion to approve the classified personnel report. Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? And we need a motion to approve the administrative appointments. So, have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now, was there something else you?
Yeah, Mr. Cutler had asked about the youth programs, and Mr. Cutler, I've talked to the group that uses, I guess it's Braxton's Gym, and I can't remember where else they use, but talked to Mr. Williams and what's the guy, the guard y'all had back when Jim Rogers was one guard. What was the other guard, shooting guard y'all had? No, he went to Clemson. One of my early years. Who? No, not King. King was graduated before. Anyways, two individuals. His mom has worked with the youth basketball program a lot, or for probably 20 years, I guess, up there. Newcomer. Yes, Miss Newcomer. And she's kept up. We worked hard during some of the winter weather on the weekends, trying to not get her schedule backed up. They were going to double back with me this month, and I haven't heard from them because I think sooner or later we've got to start getting some things going. So that's on the radar, Mr. Cutler. What are we going to, we've tried to keep our facilities as empty from anybody but school, but I have not heard. So if you've got somebody in the youth league that's wanting to talk, send them my way.
They usually with basketball, you have to lead with Farmer and.
Yeah, Jay played in that league. So it was Farmer, Seagrove, and actually they used Southmont some, but he never played at Southmont. His was back and forth between Seagrove and Farmer. But if somebody's questioned that, just send them our way. We've got to make some decisions about that because there's no question. Our campuses are safer. I don't think people. I'm not sure everybody would agree with me, but these campuses are safer when these leagues are going on in the spring outside of our fields. And when they're in the gyms, they're safer than the weekend time when they're just shut down, or the after hours times. You think about the spring when the lights are on out on those fields. I mean, that's pretty good security when people are out there that care and love your schools. They're not going to let something happen to them while they're there. You're going to hear from somebody if something's going on that shouldn't be going on. So if you're hearing from somebody, just direct them to me, okay? That's what that is. That's what that league is. That's the PTO league that you're talking about.
Even for the young kids, real young kids that play at Farmers?
Mm-hmm. It's through that PTO league. And actually, the baseball league is down in the southwest corners that way. I don't know what's in the rest of it. Well,
Brandon was red.
Grace Chapel's got a big group.
They do?
They've got a big group too because work with them. And then, of course, Ms. Newcomer, the Liberty group. So I haven't heard from any of them. And so if any of them are asking y'all questions, just send them on because we got to make some decisions for what we're going to do.
Probably thinking that he had to do it.
Yeah.
Of course, how would you handle, like, you're dealing with 7 and 8 year olds, parents bringing them, and, I mean, that's gonna be, you have to have a real plan, I mean, because, I know there's rec ball, and, with our way, it's pretty crowded. I mean, they have, I know it's a lot of people. I'm not saying that wasn't part of it. I'm saying you can't have the bleachers. You can't have the bleachers full when you can't have anybody watching a high school.
They're not going to be able to pack it in.
I'm just saying you have to enforce that and make sure they're on the same.
They won't be able to pack it in like they have.
The state standards is still keep people. We had a Hunter Education meeting last week, virtual meeting, and like the district tournament they usually have down in Chatham County, they're gonna do it at each individual team's practice facility. And like I got over 40, I got almost 50 kids, just say, between high school and middle school. So I can't have 50 people there at a time per the state. That's counting coaches, team members, scorekeepers, wildlife officials. We're gonna have to break it down 2 or 3 days. The state ain't allowing 50 people outside.
The hard issue's gonna be inside. The easier issues will be outside stuff in the spring. Maybe we'll get some relief in the spring. But the difficult issue's gonna be, it's just like what we've got going on right now. At the high schools and the middle schools are getting ready to follow in behind. The inside sports are gonna be tough. They're gonna be tough. And I hate it because we're gonna go to a game one night, or I hope I get to see some games, but again, I'll tell you, I don't want to bump anybody from their spot and see their child play. Wouldn't do that, and because of numbers. But we're gonna go to a game, and we're gonna wind up having a situation after a game, and it's gonna be a lot to sort through because of this, and we just have to deal with it, because that's part of what we're, chance we're taking to provide some activities for our kids, so.
Okay, anything else? Okay, nothing else, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.